I would like to add one more point, just to complete the picture. We've talked about those coming back who are on this new regime of a stay-at-home notice. We also have, as you all know, a quarantine regime. Quarantine, stay at home or in government quarantine facilities. And this would be for people either from Hubei itself, right, which are of higher risk, or else there will be those whom we have identified as being in close contact with infected persons, and therefore we require a quarantine regime for them. As of now, we have 1,200 people on quarantine. About half of them are in government quarantine facilities, the remaining half on home quarantine. We have a capacity in our government quarantine facility, or we have total capacity for government quarantine facilities of about 2,000. Right? So we still have some buffer, but we do need to build this up because if there is more widespread transmission of the virus within Singapore, we're not talking about imported cases now, we're talking about within Singapore, and then as each case comes up, we need to quarantine the close contacts, then we do need more quarantine facilities. Some can be in home quarantine, right? But again, with home quarantine, we require them to have suitable arrangements within the home, and not all homes will be appropriate. So if it's not appropriate, then we will put them on a government quarantine facility. So we do need to activate more, just in case, just in anticipation of a scenario where there is wider community transmission. So we will be looking at activating more government quarantine facilities in order to get ready for such a scenario.
Sorry, Minister, one last question. The rationale of this move, is it in response to the possibility of asymptomatic infections?
Asymptomatic.
Yeah.
I think it's whether it's asymptomatic. I mean, the evidence is still sort of not very conclusive, but it's very clear to us, as we have explained before, that the transmission of the virus can happen when symptoms are mild. And I quite suspect in many of these cases that are supposedly asymptomatic, in fact, they are mild symptoms. A very mild symptom like a cough or a sore throat, and the person says, nothing to this. This is, I've had sore throats before, I've had cough before. It doesn't seem like it's anything major, and that's why they don't think that they are infected. They continue working, they continue going around, and that's how the virus can spread. So there is that risk, and we think that risk is real, and that's why we had reactivated the PHPC clinics last week, and that's why also we are putting in place this new measure.
So
all right?
Quick one. The two passengers on the Westerdam who are Singaporean, how is the government treating them right now? What's the story?
The two passengers are serving quarantine in a government quarantine facility. We are not allowing any other passenger from the Westerdam to come into Singapore or to transit through Singapore.